Dragon Quest is one of gaming's most revered and storied franchises. Going strong for over 30 years and having dozens of entries, it's a series that helps define a whole genre of gaming and is a cultural pillar in Japan. But for me, it's always been a series I never quite understood. I knew it was good, but why? Is it Akira Toriyama's instantly identifiable character designs, the stories contained within, or is it just the beautifully performed music? All of these things kind of bounced off of me before, despite trying the series several times. Well, I can finally add a Dragon Quest to the list of games I've beaten, and maybe, just maybe, I get it now. Dragon Quest proper is a cultural juggernaut among games here in Japan. You see it everywhere, from lunchboxes to TV shows using its music and sound effects. But like I said, the series never quite resonated with me. So when Dragon Quest III 2D HD Remake was announced, I initially ignored it. But in the lead up to release, I started to notice the groundswell of excitement surrounding it. Dragon Quest III was nothing short of a phenomenon back in its day. The launch was so big that it was covered by news outlets across Japan, some of which even rebroadcast to celebrate the release of the game. Taking that much cross-media hype into consideration, I had to at least give Dragon Quest one more try to see if it really was something I was missing out on or if it just really isn't my cup of tea. Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake is the quintessential Dragon Quest experience without any of the added fluff. Its gameplay is that classic console 2D RPG goodness that was prominent back when the genre was budding. You traverse the world going from towns, dungeons, and everywhere in between, talking to NPCs, fighting monsters, and grabbing any and all loot that you can to build up those small upgrades to push you past those next bosses. This is a remake of a classic game after all, so Square Enix didn't try to reinvent the wheel when it comes to the gameplay. Instead, they opted to recreate that classic experience as much as possible. NPCs in this world provide all kinds of hints to the main story and objectives. They even help fill out the world as expected with a few pieces of fluff information. This might be based on an old game, but I really liked a lot of the key moments in the story when I was talking to other characters. The writing here is simple, just like the main plot, but it never trips over itself to convey its themes or feelings, depending on the situation.
I will honor you as a hero and present to you my very own flagship as your prize. Show this letter to the dwarf Nordi, who dwells in the tunnel leading eastward. He will grant you passage.
Along with the writing, another thing I really enjoyed was the voice acting. Dragon Quest's modern games all feature quite a bit of voice acting. In particular, they use a variety of accents for each town or region, which really just helps bring the experience to life. I love hearing those little bits of Portuguese and Italian and more just tossed in. This is a game with a lot of areas that would probably bleed together if it wasn't for these small, meaningful touches. On that same note, the voice acting in general is just quite excellent. Appropriately acted from start to end, never feeling too much or too little. You can tell some actors are really having fun with their roles when they ham it up, but just in general, all of the acting and key moments really sold the important scenes. Toss in a few visual flares like the hero's mother giving him hugs, it all just comes together perfectly.
Stand aside, everyone.
Combat is that classic Dragon Quest flavor. The turn-based combat that old RPGs are known for is here, alive and well. Once again, there's not many new frills added here, but some of the effects or attacks are quite snazzy. You take turns choosing commands or just letting the auto battle select stuff for you. It really works here and it's simple, just like I said. Battles here are nothing too complicated, but there's a few bosses and optional areas that might offer a little bit of pushback occasionally. Honestly, I was a little surprised with how easygoing the combat is in this game. Outside of a few random moments, I never really had trouble. An ally or two getting knocked out was usually easy enough to fix, and tougher enemies can be managed with well-placed buffs or attacks. It's a simple but kind of charming battle system. The first-person view is one of those things you might love or hate though. While I would rather see the characters myself, I get it, it's Dragon Quest's MO. Dragon Quest III features a class system as well for its characters. Aside from the hero, your party can consist of several different classes that range from melee fighters to mages and even weird things like the gadabout. Making a balanced party is recommended, but going with what you want is even more fun. The best part is the class system here builds onto itself. After a certain point, classes can change into another class, keeping some of the stats and all of the abilities. It's key to making a party that's easy to tackle later stages in the game, but it also is just really fun mixing classes and tuning them to what you want. Turning my thief into a speedy healer or a mage into a fireball chucking warrior, it's just great. The freedom here is really nice for such a simple game. Exploration is perhaps one of my favorite aspects of the game too. On the surface, it's the usual RPG fare, but Dragon Quest goes the extra mile with all kinds of field abilities to aid in the journey. Things like detecting treasure, finding recruitable monsters, and navigating traps can be done with them. Getting into the habit of searching an area then popping an ability to find the hidden goodies was rewarding all the way to the end. There are a few other things that you can do as well aside from the main quest. Of course, just like in other Dragon Quest games, you can find all of the mini-medals scattered around the world. There's also a monster arena with over 100 monsters to recruit and battle with. There's even a few more surprises after that I won't mention for spoiler's sake. Presentation-wise, Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake is Square Enix hitting the HD-2D style again, as you can probably guess from the title. While it's a bit more dialed back in its effects compared to Octopath or Triangle Strategy, Dragon Quest III is really charming to look at. It's colorful and vibrant from the start to the end. The whole game just has a cozy vibe to its visuals, and it really just got me in the mood to go adventuring. The 2D sprites for characters blend well with the 3D environments without clashing. Occasionally the game goes for a few action scenes, and they're never too complicated, so that same sense of charm is found throughout. This also extends to the music. Dragon Quest changing to an orchestrated OST was a milestone for the series. It just conveys Dragon Quest at this point. Here too, the music has been re-recorded with the Tokyo Orchestra, and it's very impressive from start to end. You hear some tracks repeat in many places, but honestly I never got sick of hearing its swelling tunes. The story though is where I finally think I got it when it comes to Dragon Quest. I'm an RPG fan that cut his teeth on games like Final Fantasy VII and Xenogears. These are epic adventures filled with grand evils to fight, exciting moments for the characters and world at large. Dragon Quest kind of isn't that kind of story. It's an adventure, the moments where a hero is needed to solve problems as they make their way across the world. That is the plot. It's something I understood, but it didn't resonate until this game. The basic plot is, we're a hero, go out, defeat evil, bring peace to the world. That's all. But the small moments that lead to the evil in the story, not the fight against the big bad, not their motivations for being evil, not their backstory, not their ambitions. They're almost an afterthought. But saving a village from a monster demanding sacrifices, finding out what happened to two lovers, stopping Robin Hood for like 12 times, those were the story of Dragon Quest III. These small vignettes that make the whole adventure what they are made it click for me. I always knew this is how Dragon Quest conveys its plots, and more recent entries tend to tie it up to the main bad guy a bit more closely, but the simplicity of the gameplay, world, and story just made it all stand out this time, and honestly I think that's what I enjoyed about it. Going a story or two a night until I finished the game was great, taking things at my own pace. Not to mention the secondary plot about following in our father's footsteps just really sealed the deal as to why Dragon Quest III is such a revered title in the franchise. But this style of storytelling isn't for everyone, myself included. Somehow though, it just worked this time.
fond of this helmet.
So I kind of get it now. Dragon Quest is a cozy series to experience. Perhaps it was just the timing or craving a more simple RPG at the moment, but Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake absolutely hit all of the right buttons for me. If you're wanting something a little more chill and relaxed, Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake is a full recommendation on my end. You won't want to miss it if you're an RPG fan whatsoever. I don't know if I'm a new convert to the Dragon Quest fandom, but I definitely want to try more games in the series. Especially with 1 and 2 coming soon, I'll be trying those out for sure. Either way, I'm Brian at Valkerion Gaming, and thanks for checking out this review. Leave comments down below and be sure to hit the like and sub buttons if you enjoyed the review, and just to let me know that you care. Either way, see you next time, be good out there, and stay safe.